favorite artists.
Like most kids from a privileged white upper-middle-class suburban background, for a significant portion of his childhood, he was pretty convinced he was down. AD on the radio.
And equality, as thought by some, are chiefly to be found in democracy. They will be best attained when all persons alike share in government to the utmost. Aristotle. Kind of a cerebral, heady way, heady philosophical way to start the show, I know, but it seems apropos. That's a word, right? Funkhauser, apropos. It seems apropos, right, given that we are coming up on a debate tonight, the second GOP debate, and something around which the future of this country depends on. And you know what? I wonder about these debates because, look, in large part, it's because people want to go, what the hell is Donald Trump going to say? What's Hurricane Trump going to do at this particular event? Donald Trump has said that he wants CNN to donate the substantially elevated amounts of advertising cash they're making off of this debate. I think they're getting like 20 times their usual rates for commercials inside the debate. He said that he wants that money to be donated to veterans charities, and I think that's an awesome idea. But it just highlights the fact that there will be a huge surplus of advertising money that comes out of these debates. Why? Because more people are watching than ever before. Does this mean that we're going to have a more participatory democracy moving forward? I don't know. I hope so. Maybe people just want to watch. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe people want to stay on the sidelines. They don't want to get down on the field and play. But at the very least, I hope that it makes us think. And I hope that post 9/11, it makes us think. And when I say post 9/11, I'm not talking about 2001. I'm talking about the day that just came and went, the 14th anniversary of 9/11, which we alluded to earlier in the show. We also alluded to the attitude that people had right around 9/11 in the show, and how that is just such a stark contrast to what's going on in this country in this day and age, a country that is more divided than I ever remember it being in my adult or child life. And, well, I'll say that quote from Aristotle. I'll repeat that quote from Aristotle. If liberty and equality, as is thought by some, are chiefly to be found in democracy, they will be best attained when all persons alike share in government to the utmost. We all got to get down on the field and play. And maybe that's not necessarily going out and pulling the lever for democracy, voting being part of that. But if it gets us thinking about who we are as a people, then hopefully, we can stop being so freaking divided and maybe coalesce into one giant belly laugh, realize the ridiculousness of a couple things, and at the very least be bonded by that. Because in this day and age, I was going over some of the things that I've been reading this past year just gone by with regard to racial divides, race riots, anti-Semitism run rife in America. And I compiled a little list of some of the things that I'd read about over the past 9 or so months since we entered 2015, and it's disturbing stuff. So what do we do about it? How do we move forward? That's what we're going to be addressing today in the show. Like I said, a bit of a heady philosophical gut buster of a topic, but we'll ease our transition into that by starting, I suppose, with dessert when we talk to super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhauser, and find out, A, how he's doing, and B, what is going on in the world in our segment, My Witness News. Funkhauser,
yeah.
How you doing? What's going on in the world?
Good. How are you? I guess we know. You're good.
Well, the coffee actually appears to have worked today. Yesterday sucked. Did you have a tough Tuesday yesterday?
Yeah, that's why today I had a French Press Wednesday. You know what that's about, right?
God. Well, I'm glad the French press is kicking in. Generally speaking, lately I've been finding that coffee lies to me. But I changed up my coffee. I found myself to be, maybe this was the start of the downfall of Tuesday. Like Monday was great. I sailed through Monday. I actually wound up being a little bit ahead when it came to the end of Monday. I was like, oh, this is going to be great. I'm going to breeze right through this week. And then Tuesday crept up like Monday's ugly sister. It was like, boom, I don't think so, bitch. Literally everything is going to go wrong. And the day started with everything going wrong because I found myself to be out of coffee Tuesday morning. I was like, oh no, this is not good. This is not okay. This kind of sucks. So last night I stopped by, depressingly enough, I stopped by Walmart. And I was greeted as one is. Well, I mean, look, it was 1 a.m. and I needed coffee and I needed batteries. There's no other place that you can go in that situation. And I go to the coffee section. Well, first and foremost, I walk in and I'm greeted by a guy who's like 200 years old, wearing a Korea veterans pin on his lapel. I was like, oh, geez. Oh, man, it's 1 a.m. And we as a nation, you fought for our country in Korea, and we as a nation can't look after you to the point where you don't have to spend your twilight years, the golden years, where your golden years are greeting schmucks like me at 1 a.m. at a Walmart. I was like, oh, this is a sad, sad state of affairs. But yeah, I was like, hey, thank you for your service. Walked right in, went to the coffee, and I was like, coffee this one, coffee that one. And my usual brand had not been doing what it had been supposed to over the last couple of weeks, so I decided to switch it up a little bit. And I did. I went back to my favorite of all coffees back in the day, Dunkin' Donuts. Got some Dunkin' Donuts coffee and made it this morning and drank it and feel freaking fantastic today. So I think sometimes when your coffee lies to you, when your coffee fails you, you just got to switch up the brand and you'll be good to go. That is my advice. Or you could just, French press the way Funkhauser does.
French press, oui.
You push the plunger down. You surrender to whatever country is evading you, and you enjoy a nice cup of coffee. French press sounds dirty because Funkhauser has a Canadian girlfriend, but go on.
Facebook is finally adding a dislike button.
Which basically means my keyboard is going to be worn out in an hour.
The battle begins.
Yeah, I can't help but think that Donald Trump is somehow responsible for this. Will you be using the dislike button?
Not first person wise. I'm going to be putting updates that cause a lot of controversy to see how many people use the dislike. It's going to be a battle of likes versus dislikes now on Facebook.
See, I think the reason that Facebook put a dislike button in, I mean, it's going to be egregiously abused, but I think their reasoning behind it was like, when people post sad statuses like, hey, after a long battle with, cancer, my lifelong hamster has passed away or something like that. When they post sad statuses, people want to acknowledge that they've read it, but you feel weird pressing the like button. So I think, life being what it is, having both ups and downs, they wanted a dislike button so you could show support of people in tough situations. But, of course, it will be, hey, check out the new... I'm a model. Check out my new pictures. Poof, dislike. Oh, unfriend. I think someone's going to get stabbed over overuse of the dislike button. I predict one dislike button stabbing before the end of the week when it eventually becomes part of Facebook. Go on.
The second Republican primary debate will take place at the Reagan Presidential Library today, right now.
Yeah, very excited. Each candidate will get 3 minutes to dispute Donald Trump's claim that they're a total effing loser. One thing I just thought about with the Facebook finally adding a dislike button, it means that the life of the woman in your office who constantly posts pictures of her cats in little cowboy hats is about to get even sadder. Go on.
Hillary Clinton, Hill Dog, she sat down for an interview with Mario Lopez.
Yeah. Of course, Lopez asked her about the Syrian refugee crisis and its effect on the global economy. Kidding. He asked her about the time she spent with Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. Go on.
Historians have found the oldest known usage of the F word.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday.
If you missed yesterday's show, go to the iHeart channel. Just search for AD and you can hear it. What we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, no, we can. The first ever usage of the F word. Used by Noah, followed by, I forgot the unicorns. Go on.
A British man who took 35 Viagra pills experienced a 5-day erection.
What's your rationale for taking 35?
It's not working. It's not working. Keep trying. One more. Keep trying.
Do you think that... do you think he was... Have you ever taken Viagra? Or any kind of... Like, I hear... we're not yet at the age where it would become necessary, but I hear that there are tremendous recreational benefits to people that are not at the age where they need it, using it. This is what I hear.
How? What kind?
I don't know, but I hear it's good for... See, and this is the thing. I don't know. I've never taken them. But I hear both men and women benefit from it because of the increased flow of blood to certain areas. Oh, well, here's the story on the guy. He's from East Yorkshire. It lasted for 35... he took 35 doses of Viagra in an hour after... Would you guess that alcohol was involved?
Oh, I didn't know they drank alcohol in the UK.
Yeah, alcohol was involved. This explains it. He took 35 doses of Viagra in an hour after drinking with his friends for 2 days. He said, my friend brought them downstairs. I said I'd take one for a laugh, and one led to 2 or 3, etc. But after pill number 35, laughter gave way to concern. His vision turned green, a Viagra side effect. And he experienced what was described by the English newspaper The Sun as a quote-unquote massive erection that would not go away. He went home to his wife. Oh, what? You mean he wasn't even around his wife? He just decided to pop 35 Viagra with his bros? The wife has got to be like, maybe something we need to talk about? He went home to his wife, who promptly redirected him to the hospital where he belonged.
Which hospital?
I don't know. His wife was a quote-unquote little mad with him, which one would hope is an understatement. He said, it wasn't permanent, but every time I brushed against something for 5 days, it sprang to life, and it was no use to me. Yeah, I guess he was hoping his wife would deal with it in a more organic way, so to speak. But apparently, wife not so much in the mood after he nearly left her a widow and their children fatherless. Go on. What else is going on in the news? Because we tackle the big issues in this show. Yeah. Go on.
Well, attention, ladies. It says here, wearing red makes women feel sexy.
Right. Wearing red makes women feel sexy. Being in a dead-end job does not, so confusing times for employees that stack shelves at Target. Go on.
A woman was hit in the head with brisket when a brawl broke out between 2 contestants at a barbecue festival in Kentucky.
Yeah. Poor woman. Just an innocent bystander. Didn't have beef with either of them. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
All right.
Go on.
A survey found that 1 in 7 people have started their Christmas shopping. September.
Yeah. The only thing we know about these people, they're not men. Go on.
E-cigarettes are now forbidden at national parks.
Right. Which sucks if you were really looking forward to spending your trip to Yellowstone looking like a complete and utter D-bag. Go on.
Or French, I think. I think they wear those things. Disney is doing a new movie about Mary Poppins.
Yep. The beloved British nanny with magical powers. Might star Anne Hathaway. So I guess they're ditching the beloved part. Go on.
I can't wait for the nudie scene in that one then.
Did you ever see Julie Andrews? Did Julie Andrews get naked in a movie?
I don't think so, but the one actress you just mentioned did. Anne Hathaway.
Right. Right, yeah. I think Julie Andrews, the original Mary Poppins, she was in that movie 10 with Bo Derek. And I want to say you saw Mary Poppins nip slips in that. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Mary's Poppins?
Mary's Poppins. Oh, what are we going to do during the break? To Google!
Jamming on the one like Theo Huxtable. Days like this when I feel untouchable. I try and make up for all the wrongs I did by living my life like a Cosby kid. Jamming on the one like Theo and Steve
USA Headline News. I'm Ron Taylor. All eyes will be on the Reagan Presidential Library in California tonight for the second Republican presidential debate. Retired neurosurgeon Ben Carson tells Fox News The Kelly File that he's approaching tonight's debate just like he did the last one.
Well, I don't think that my strategy is going to change at all. It's going to be to tell the truth and to talk about, my vision for America. Which I think is something that a lot of people resonate with.
Carson has seen a recent rise in the polls and is gaining ground on frontrunner Donald Trump. Trump will be joined by Carson, former Florida Governor Jeb Bush, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker, Texas Senator Ted Cruz, Florida Senator Marco Rubio, former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, Ohio Governor John Kasich, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, and former Hewlett-Packard CEO Carly Fiorina. Candidates in the primetime debate were selected based on national poll averages. The debate will be held at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Southern California and will air live on CNN. This is USA Headline News.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-991-6376 now. The call and information are free. Credit Guard has helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-991-6376 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-991-6376. That's 800-991-6376. Again, 800-991-6376.
What's trending? In baseball, check a games note involving the playoff races. The Rangers walk off with a 6-5 win over the Astros on a Mitch Moreland sacrifice fly in the bottom of the ninth inning. With that win, Texas moves into first place in the AL West for the first time all season. They've got a half-game lead on Houston. Twins lose to the Tigers 5-4. Minnesota's a game and a half back of the Astros with that second American League wildcard spot. Angels beat the Mariners 4-3. Angels are 4 back in the AL West, but move 3.5 out for the second AL wildcard spot. Blue Jays lose to the Braves 3-2. It was the Yankees falling to the Rays 6-3, so Toronto still has that 3-game lead on New York in the AL East. 10 innings for the Cardinals to beat the Brewers 3-1. St. Louis has a 3-game lead on Pittsburgh for first place in the NL Central. The Pirates and Cubs split a doubleheader. Pirates took game 1 5-4. The Cubs come back for a 2-1 win in game number 2. News from college sports. University of Texas fired their athletic director, Steve Patterson. I'm Eddie Garcia.
We are Bon iHeartRadio puts the spotlight on Bon Jovi. 1988's New Jersey hit number 1 in both the U.S. and in the U.K. and had 2 more number 1 hits in Bad Medicine and I'll Be There For You. The band mounted a massive tour of more than 22 countries and 232 shows, including a sold-out homecoming at Giant Stadium in New Jersey. Following 16 months of nonstop touring, Bon Jovi's members were exhausted, and the band went their separate ways in 1990 with no future plans. They worked out their differences and released Keep the Faith in 1992, but the album was a letdown from New Jersey, though Bed of Roses hit number 10 on the charts. In 1994, Bon Jovi had its first lineup change when bassist Such was fired from the band and unofficially replaced by Hugh McDonald. McDonald's first album was 1995's These Days, which hit number 1 in the UK and Japan, but was considered a disappointment in the US. Following the album's release, the members of Bon Jovi took a 2-year hiatus. All things Bon Jovi. Info, music, and more are on iHeartRadio. Keyword Bon Jovi.
iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with Mike Rutherford to discuss that even though there were generational difficulties, his father was always quite supportive.
You know, you've got to understand, I'm sure it's the same over here, but in the UK, in England, you know, that generational change from my father's era to my era, you know, he was the English Empire days, 2 world wars. It was hard to communicate. There was a big divide between us. It's just, there was no dialogue really. You couldn't discuss things because there was no sort of platform to share conversations on. But no, he was supportive, and in a way, you know, given that he hadn't got a clue what I was doing, you know, what parent did in those days, you know, music, long hair and a guitar, he was given that. He was very supportive.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Mike Rutherford and all your favorite artists.
Real Radio.
104.1.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you my musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD again. Nobody rock a party better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD again. Nobody rock a party better than me.
Seems like everybody's weighing in on Trump. In fact, the creator of Dilbert, did you hear about this? Yeah, he predicted that Trump will win the presidency and also compared him to Jesus. And people hope he's right because they would love a 3-day break from Donald Trump. I mean, a little tiny, give me 3 days. And this isn't good here. I read that Jeb Bush has seen a drop in campaign donations lately. He's been forced to take commercial flights to campaign events. It got weird when the airline said they lost Jeb's baggage, and he was like, "You lost my brother?" No, I left your baggage. What do you think I said? Over on the Democratic side, we have Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders recently... That's right, he recently said that he's concerned about what he called war talk. Yeah, war talk. Or as Dick Cheney calls it, phone sex. I can't wait to invade you. What kind of nukes are you wearing?
Exceedingly well played, Jimmy Fallon's writers. So, the one thing that's clearly the one thing that's clearly obvious to everybody, I think, this go around when it comes to the potential of pulling the lever for democracy and electing a new president of these United States of America is that people are interested. People are interested. People are watching to see what's happening, possibly because of the clown car-esque aspect of the GOP at the moment. Just so many of them. Rick Perry finally dropped out. When I say finally, I just mean, well, he was actually the first to drop out, but a lot of people are just like, okay, you're gonna, okay. Even people from Texas that love that guy were like, hey, you've done fantastic things for the state, but let's be real here. Not presidential. But who could blame him? He never lost an election until going out to be president. And he's had it proven to him a couple times. Not so much presidential. But the level of interest that's happening, not only because of the clown car-esque aspect to the number of candidates that are vying for a GOP nomination, the number of people watching, kind of crazy. And look at the Republican frontrunners at the moment. I mean, I haven't checked recent polls, and there's a million ways to slice and dice all the information, but it would seem that people who are not career politicians way out ahead. Donald Trump, Ben Carson, Carly Fiorina. I think they're leading the pack. A lot of people say that's early interest and it won't last, and we're going to wind up with a career politician as president. And people are just sort of vaguely in favor of it. But when they do some good hard thinking, when it comes time to actually figure out who we're going to be voting for, they'll be like, they just don't have the experience. They don't have the experience with foreign policy. That's what I've heard people say about Ben Carson. And you know what? Neurosurgeons don't tend to get a lot of experience with foreign policy. So, there might be a valid point to some of that. But what I like, despite the ridiculous aspect to this election in 2016, is that people are participatory, even if it's only leering to see what's going to happen next. And we need that in this day and age. We need that because we're a country that's more divided than ever before. Race riots, anti-Semitism run rife all over the rest of the world in places where you would expect it, but here in America. I actually jotted down some notes because, I can't believe it. We're here in 2015. Racial divides, anti-Semitism, these were not supposed to be our problems. These were supposed to be our great-great-grandfather's problems. These were supposed to be Abraham Lincoln's problems, not ours. But here we are dealing with them in a more pronounced way than it seemed possible. There's a Rabbi Joseph Potasnik. He's executive vice president for the New York Board of Rabbis. And he went on the record this year saying it's not a big deal to hate Jews. The first group to get attacked is the Jews. Anti-Semitism has become fashionable again. I was thinking about some of the stories that I heard this past year just gone by over the last month. A woman in Boise, Idaho, attacking her Jewish neighbor, standing on her neck until she said she believes in Jesus. Swastikas spray painted on homes in Madison, Wisconsin. pro-Palestinian protesters storming a New York City council meeting that was discussing a resolution commemorating the 70th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. It's kind of crazy. Anti-Semitism is still alive and well in the good old red, white, and blue. What the hell is going on? See, this is why what you and I do here is important, I think. This is why your conversation and mine, this is important. Because I know, look, we goof off, we laugh about things, but ultimately, this is why we do what we do. When I was a kid, I moved to England. I wound up in a pretty awesome situation. At the time, I was I was a kid, so I didn't make anything of it, really. But looking back, it was incredibly valuable. And what happened was, I went to this international school. Kids from all over the world, and there really wasn't any room whatsoever for racial or national barriers. Like, at this school, you really wouldn't last very long if you're going to harbor a prejudice against people with different skin colors or nationalities. And I remember in middle school, during the first Gulf War, we had an Iraqi kid and a kid from Kuwait in our history class. It was interesting. And that was the first time I realized that there was something different going on in this school that I was lucky enough to end up in. It was different than the rest of the world. I remember there's a great picture of them, this Iraqi kid and this kid from Kuwait, both of whom I think had moved to England where I was living to kind of escape the conflict. There's a great picture of them together palling it up with their arms around each other's shoulders in the school yearbook. And to me, that was the first indication that this bubble of equality and tolerance that I was fortunate enough to grow up in wasn't like the rest of the world. And I remember looking at that yearbook photo. And seeing these guys and thinking, look at these two 6th grade kids. Their native countries are locked in a bloody, bloody war. And they could give a crap. They're hanging out, being friends. This is awesome. And then there was London in general. Like, okay, London's this huge cosmopolitan city and not an indicator of what the rest of the world was like. But the sense there was that everyone felt pretty homogenous. Everyone felt English or European, and there were tons of people from all over the world. And I was lucky enough to be involved with music at a young age. I played drums professionally from the 9th grade on, and I played jazz where you didn't always know who you're going to play with, and who knows who you're going to be thrown in a room and expect to play jazz standards with. But it fostered an attitude of tolerance that I thought would be even more so when I moved back to New York. Not so much.
iHeartRadio shines the spotlight on Van Morrison.
Walk me out, dog, get your way down here. I make you walk along, baby, please don't go.
Van Morrison, born in Belfast, Ireland in 1945, is the son of a shipyard worker who collected American jazz and blues records. By age 15, teenage Morrison dropped out of school to pursue a career in music. He learned to play the guitar, saxophone, and harmonica before forming his own band, Them. Them's Gloria has and continues to be regarded as one of rock's classical hits, which has been covered by a diverse number of bands, including The Doors. Due to changing lineups, a frustrated Morrison left Them in 1966 and returned to his Belfast home, when former producer Bert Burns was able to convince Morrison to record as a solo artist in New York City. Van recorded perhaps his most famous hit, Brown Eyed Girl.
Do you remember when we used to sing sha-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la-la
and all your favorite artists.
iHeartRadio goes one-on-one with Mike Rutherford to discuss that even though there were generational difficulties, his father was always quite supportive.
You know, you've got to understand, I'm sure it's the same over here, but in the UK, in England, you know, that generational change from my father's era to my era, you know, he was the English Empire days, 2 world wars. It was hard to communicate. There was a big divide between us. It's just, there was no dialogue, really. You couldn't discuss things because there was no sort of platform to share conversations on. But no, he was supportive, and in a way, you know, given that he hadn't got a clue what I was doing, you know, what parent did in those days, you know, music, long hair and a guitar, he was given that. He was very supportive.
Keep listening to iHeartRadio for more Mike Rutherford and all your favorite artists.
Real Radio. Real Radio.
104.1.
Now, someone who everybody wants to punch in the face. AD on the radio.
So, if you're just joining us, it seems apropos, I suppose, that on the eve of the second GOP debate, which is going to be watched by gazillions of people, it seems apropos to discuss the fact that we are, like we said, maybe it's because of the clown car-esque aspect to this election, where it's like, how many candidates? Who? The front runners are not politicians. The woman that ran Xerox and a neurosurgeon and Donald Trump are way out in front of all these other people that have been politicians for their entire professional lives. Well, this could get interesting. Let's watch. At the very least, even if people are watching to laugh and gawk and go, what have we become? At least it starts the dialogue. What have we become? At least it starts people thinking, which I think is a valuable thing, because as we were talking about the level of racial divide in this country, the level of anti-Semitism that seems to have come screaming back when that's supposed to be something that was dealt with many, many years ago is disconcerting, to say the least. If you're just joining me, like I said, I was a kid that grew up in kind of a not unique but awesome situation. I went to this international school in England, where you weren't going to last very long if you were going to harbor a prejudice against people with different skin colors or nationalities. And you might recall we were discussing the fact that in middle school, I had a kid from Kuwait and a kid from Iraq in my history class. And this was during the time of the first Gulf War. And there's a great picture in my old yearbook of those two kids with their arms around each other. And that was my first indicator that I was like, oh, I'm growing up in a bubble that is not like the rest of the world, but not like the rest of the world in a good way, in that it's tolerant and understanding and integrated. And I played music from a young age. I played drums professionally from like the 9th grade on, and I played jazz, where you don't always know who you're playing with. It's like, hey, can you do this gig? Can you cover for this guy? And you show up and you know a bunch of jazz standards, and you go through them in the hotel lobby, you take your money and you go home, but you don't know who you're going to be playing with. You wind up with a great variety of people. And you're bonded through music. And I know that I've talked about this on the show, but being bonded through music really is an incredible, incredible tool to break down all kinds of barriers, like you wouldn't believe. It's a bonding experience watching it. It's a bonding experience being part of the audience, even more so, I think, when you're playing it. But nevertheless, here I was living in London, which, by the way, there's some serious problems in London now. I mean, they're experiencing a large surge in anti-Semitism that is similar to what is going on in America. It's a worldwide problem, and it's got to stop. But I grew up in this bubble of tolerance and respect for one another, and I was expecting that to be more so when I eventually moved back to New York. Moved to America, New York City, the great American melting pot, and I was shocked to find something totally different. I didn't experience racism face-to-face until I moved to America. Now, I'm not saying there's no racism in England. There certainly is. It's definitely there. But no one in my immediate social circle. In the last year or so, there's been all these racial standoffs in the city where I live. In the wake of things like the Trayvon Martin case, in the wake of things like Ferguson, Missouri. And I'm not trying to make light of it, but this is how much sense those things made to me. Like, especially the Trayvon Martin case. So black people and white people were angry at each other for what a Mexican guy did. Go figure. I couldn't believe it. Over the past year, I've seen angry white hillbillies on one side of a street and Black Panthers on the other side of a street. And I was like, what the hell? Live in a big city. I live back and forth between a couple big cities. Houston, Texas, San Diego. And if all you know about a city like Houston comes from the movie Urban Cowboy, the Bush administration, and seeing Joel Osteen hawk his megachurch on TV, then you could have a bit of a one-sided view, yeah. But it's an extremely diverse and cultured city with a lot going on. Democratic lesbian mayor that got reelected. So to see that situation, whites on one side of the street, black on the other side of the street, in the middle of the day in 2013, 2014, 2015, over and over again, it really upset me. See, when I grew up in England and we saw the Iraqi and Kuwaiti kids with their arms around each other at the height of the Gulf War, and my 6th grade brain said to itself, well, cool. These are the grown-ups of tomorrow. This kind of racial tension is the last generation's cross to bear, not our problem. This was supposed to be our grandparents' problem, like I said. But then there's this new spate of anti-Semitism that seems to be popping up with alarming frequency. I was talking with my lawyer the other day. My lawyer is awesome. A guy called Matt Greenberg. I make him exactly no money. But I did back in the day when I was a kid in a band, and we have meetings and calls sometimes under the guise of getting business done. But really, when it comes down to it, I think is we just kind of like to talk. And it's funny, I was talking to this buddy, my lawyer, and he said that he was on the phone with customer service of some kind, not getting anywhere a little while back. And things apparently got a little heated, and the person he was dealing with must have been able to see that his last name was Greenberg and rightly assumed that he was one of the chosen people, because when things got heated, the customer service rep said to him, "That's the problem with you effing Jews. That's the problem with you effing Jews." This is what happened to him on a call to customer service. And he called me up and he was like, "Hey, you won't believe what happened to me. Someone on the phone just said to me that that's the problem. That's the problem with you effing Jews." And I was like, "You effing Jews?" Someone said that? Like they knew you could hear them and they said it to you? And he was like, "Yes, you effing Jews." And we were both laughing about it just because it seemed so absurd. But then when I was like, "When was the last time you ran into that kind of anti-Semitism?" And he was like, a long time ago. I don't even remember. And it's indicative of a growing problem. In Brooklyn, government officials say that Jews are forcing people out of their homes, to which the Jews reply, "It's New York City. It gets more expensive. We're being forced out of our homes, too." The government accusing Jews of forcing people out of their homes by raising rents. It's crazy, right? And then there was that instance of the knockout game, targeting Jews, where it became a real treat on social media for people to run up to Jewish folks in the street, video it, and punch them. Sucker punch them in the back of the head and see if they could knock them out. A knockout game targeting Jews. What the hell is going on? Can no one get along? It's not limited to race or ethnicity or religious preference either. Like we said, look at the Republican Party. Such a mess. Such a mess. Extremist wackadoos inventing names like Rhino, you Republican in name only, to go after the evil that is not being Republican enough. At what point did we become so divided? At what point did we stop believing that we were on the same team? I don't know, but I do know this. Yeah, this show is tongue-in-cheek, and yeah, we have fun, and yeah, we laugh, but the greatest compliment I have ever gotten on the air as a broadcaster was from some guy who tweeted me. And this is a guy who loves God and guns and America and the Constitution, and he was like, "My libtard brother-in-law is coming over tonight, and I'm going to make him listen to your show so you can tell him the truth." And after the show, he tweeted me and said that the libtard, his words, not mine, loved it. He said that I was even better than NPR. And that's like the biggest compliment I could get, to know that I've successfully brought the left and the right together. Given people some common ground. The left and the right together. You, me, your neighbor, your relatives, we are all on the same team. We are all on the same team, yet we are so divided as a country right now. But this show's for everyone. Black, white, gay, straight, Jew, Baptist, Christian, Catholic, Muslim, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Asian, Pan-Asian, blue collar, white collar, no collar. This show is for everyone. From transgendered go-go dancers to AR-15 hoarding manual laborers, you are all welcome to the common ground that is being part of my radio family. Agree with me, disagree with me, I don't care. I'm here to start a conversation. I respect you enough to listen to your opinion and try to understand it, even if I don't agree with it. I love it when people don't agree with me, because when people don't agree with me, you know what it means? It means that I'm probably, if I can get into an honest discussion without people sniping at each other, I love it when people disagree with me, because it probably means I'm going to learn something. You and I, we have to be the change. You and I have to give people of a different skin color or nationality or religious belief or political allegiance the respect they deserve as a human. Let me say that again, because it's important. We have to be the change. You and I have to give people of a different skin color or nationality or religious belief or political allegiance the respect they deserve as a human being. You and I, we got to be the ones who put ourselves in the risky and intimidating position of saying, hey, what's up? How's it going? Have a good weekend, to people that are different than ourselves. Because that's all it is to begin with. Hey, what's up? How's it going? Good weekend? Dope shoes. You watch a game last night? Whatever it takes. Be willing to talk to people with people that think differently than you. Too much agreement kills a conversation. People are so hell-bent on being right. People are so hell-bent on being right. People are so hell-bent on playing the gotcha game, coming up with a clever turn of phrase or a clever meme, which they use among people that already agree with them. That showed that libtard. That showed that moron Republican. No. Hang out with people that don't agree with you. Be a true diplomat. Understand the feelings of people that don't agree with you. I mean, you know, in the run-up to the election, that's how you're going to win, by understanding the mind of the people that oppose you. And even if you don't win, you understand the mind of the people that oppose you. It's very hard to stay mad at people that are kind of in your face, that are part of your daily existence, that you have, against all your knee-jerk reactions, given the benefit of the doubt and treated with the respect they deserve as a human. That's all it is. Being pleasant to one another. Being friendly. Admitting that maybe because they didn't vote the same as you does not mean that they're an evil a-hole that hates America. It's a great and easy place to start. We can be the change just by being friendly. And then maybe, just maybe, we, all of us, can get something done in our America. Hey, thank you so much for hanging out, being part of my radio family. Aida Rodriguez, hilarious comedian, is on the show tomorrow. And we're going to tackle a problem sent to me by a longtime listener, Lisa H., who said, what do you do when coworkers talk smack about you behind your back? Now that continues our conversation about life being an exercise in diplomacy. Succeeding at life being an exercise in diplomacy. Can't wait to get into it tomorrow. Thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you so much to everyone for listening. Have a great one.
You know how a lot of times you feel like it's cool to turn the other cheek and give people the benefit of the doubt even when they don't deserve it. And sometimes you feel good about yourself for being the better person and doing that. Well, this is not one of those times.